and that we all have a piece of the truth. And is there some way that we can come together and respect and honor each other and speak through our, speak in alignment with what it is that we see, but be able to hear others as well, and work and get out of this right-wrong sort of dynamic and move to the place where we're really bringing forth, where we're acknowledging what we value and bringing forth new ways to do things. That's where I am.
Is there sort of an overall objective that perhaps the purpose, the reason why we're here, why we're living beings, is to perhaps make the world a better place? Does that go along with the philosophy, Dr. Kathy?
Well, Science of Mind, when it first began, was really about personal spiritual awakening and to come to know one's oneness with God and to be that Christ truth in unique expression, or to be that Buddha nature here on earth and to bring heaven to earth, so to speak. And I think that our organization and our philosophy has been evolving too, because we realize we're in the world and we're part of the world. And so the idea of taking the principles that we've used well in our own personal lives and using them on behalf of the planet is something that means a lot to many of us. Our organizational branding line is we teach spiritual tools to improve our lives and make the world a better place. And that is what we're about. That's what we're about individually, because we're seeking to bring a transformed person into engagement in the world. And to do work good.
So a follow-up question that I'd like to ask is this: earlier, when you described how you came onto the path, the spiritual path that brought you to where you are now, you mentioned the death of your father was part of that, and I was wondering whether what is there a belief in an afterlife, or is our life on earth just kind of it for us? Is that all there is for us, or does the soul or whatever spiritual part of us continue to exist in some form?
I think I lost a little bit of your question, but I heard that last part. Again, I don't know what the truth is, but I can share with you what Science of Mind says. And Ernest Holmes wrote that he believed that the movement of life is always onward and up the spiral, and that we're here for the learning and advancement of our souls, and that when the learning is gained, the body is dropped and the soul moves on. And the idea was that for him, we keep on keeping on, that we are ageless, deathless, and immortal beings, and that we're actually living an immortal life now, even though the bodies that we're in have a time limit on them. At least it looks to be so. And so for Ernest Holmes, for many of us in Science of Mind, we think that death is not the ending of life, it's just the movement on into a new life, and that who we are as a unique entity in the reality of God carries on and on and on.
Hey Matt, you've been relatively quiet tonight. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask Reverend Kathy?
Oh, I have a bunch of stuff. I've been trying to see what would really be, what would mesh with something that you were kind of on at the time. I do a lot of thinking, like analytically as an engineer, and also philosophically. I like to challenge what I can in my own brain. I'm just glancing over my notes here. So I read over the tenets, and I'm looking at like all disease is mental in origin. Right thinking has a healing effect. I mean, some of these are very agreeable with my thoughts. But like say spirit is ultimate reality. That seems like something that I will not be answering anytime soon. I mean, that seems like a more that seems like that's going to need that's going to be a quest for me to think about that one, right?
How would you describe that, Dr. Reverend Kathy?
You know, I think what, I'm not exactly sure what Matthew is reading, but I appreciate the question. I think what that says is that behind all that is visible is the invisible, and we could call that spirit.
Okay, well, I found myself sort of in between. Actually, so in philosophy, there's materialism. It's not really enough for me just to say that I think that all things are material, but I just want to say that I allow material in my mind to do anything it wants to do. So there's really no restriction. So in other words, it's just almost like saying, will you allow yourself to redefine this word material or not? And I've said, okay, that's fine with me. And I've gone with it a little further and added in functional materialism, because I think like what we really communicate to each other is the function that's served from our minds, from our bodies as vessels, or however you might look at it, rather than the actual, blood, like oxygen content in the blood or the potassium ions within the cell. Like what we're really concerned about is the, and communicating to each other is the function. So, having said that, now I think it just comes down to acceptance of different definitions and the words that we use to express different things to one another. So, what is spirit and what is reality, and what is the ultimate reality? I guess that would be that would change what this statement means when one would read it, right? I mean, if you had different interpretations.
Definitely.
Well, I had a specific question. I'm seeing morality. I've kind of backtracked from religions and beliefs, sects and codes, back down into a more general broad base, which would be like morality. And underneath that, I'm interpreting that there is a notion of existential sustainability. That's what I'm calling it. Like attempts at fairness and thought that we give, attention that we give to, and this is how we arrive at words like good and bad, right and wrong, is we see that some things will cause some sort of detriment to ourselves or others, so we put that in the category of, okay, it's better not to have that happen. And I think all this comes from the very foundation of existential sustainability, our interpretation of it. I mean, do you see that structure? I mean, is that kind of like the skeleton of what is morality and belief? Or am I too much of a mechanical engineer, like in that?
It's really, I just love that phrase, existential sustainability. Morality isn't a word I think about very often. Not that I seek to do immoral things, and I certainly know what that means. I'm not sure I know how to answer that, Matthew. I think it's worth. I think it's important for us to look at the effect that we have in the world, and whether what we do contributes to life or takes away from life. You can see I keep it kind of simple in a right brain sort of way. I'm into keeping it simple. And what's the effect I'm having every day? Am I making things better or making things not better?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I'm wondering if what you're referring to is some kind of simply behavior based on an ethical foundation for the individual, whatever that is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And maybe even more than just creating a guiding light for myself, I'm trying to find the reason for why people believe what they believe. And I'm trying to see like a greater picture that might span over eons rather than just what's happened in the last 10, 20 years. From just studying evolution and studying